Hey, I'm Allison, and this is Realistically Consistent, where we talk about how to build sustainable fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits that actually last even as a busy mom. I'm here to help get you consistent, not perfect, and on your way to feeling like your best self. I'm so excited to start today's episode with you. Let's dive in. Hello, welcome back. Today, I am excited to talk about a bunch of habits that, if you are not already doing on a daily basis, are going to make a really big difference in the way that you feel, both physically and mentally. It's going to help with your energy levels and potentially help you lose weight if that is a goal of yours as well. I also want to encourage you to stick around to the end. So, even if you are doing a lot of these habits, at the end, I want to talk about some ways that you can take either these habits to the next level or some habits that you can build on top of those so that, again, you can just really start to amplify how you feel. So before we dive into those, I want to talk a little bit about how I came up with this list of what I call non-negotiables. As I talked a little bit about in our first episode, my background, how I've been through it all, right? I have been that busy full-time working mom as a teacher with two toddlers. And then now I am a busy working mom with three kids. One is a baby that is home with me full-time while I am still trying to run my business and do this podcast. So I know what it feels like to be busy for sure. And all the other things that come with life of my kids have sporting events and all of the family events that come up and the holidays are coming up, all of those things. And so I want you to understand that consistency piece when we talk about consistency over the next however many episodes, because that's the name of the podcast. Consistency is going to look different day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season. And no matter what, I have these non negotiables built in. But what's important to understand is that even though they're non negotiables and they're the same habits, the way that the habit is carried out changes day to day, week to week, month to month. So I want to encourage you to stop using the I'm too busy as an excuse right now, because these habits can be done no matter what. Okay. You can build them into your life however it makes sense for you. And these are going to be the things that really make a difference in how you feel every single day. We have got to stop the standard of, yeah, I'm exhausted. It is what it is. Maybe I'll, get my life back when, my kids are grown. Like we have to stop that because it is so important for us to be able to show up for them in the best way that we possibly can. We have to be taking care of ourselves. Not only that, we don't want to look back years from now and think, oh my gosh, I probably could have made time. I probably realistically had time. Gosh, I feel so bad now. I feel like I'm making up for last time and I wish I would have changed things, right? We don't want you in that position 18 years in the future when your kids are grown and out of the house. We want you to make sure that you're prioritizing yourself in a way that makes sense realistically right now. And starting with these habits is a great place to start. Okay, so habit number one is to drink water. It sounds really simple. It sounds like, duh, like, of course I'm going to drink water. But maybe you're sitting here also thinking, like, oh, yeah, I know. I need to be better about that, right? I know that there are days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I needed to be better about that today. They are fewer and farther between now. And the reason that they're fewer and farther between is because it took me a while to kind of get in a groove and be really mindful and really intentional with the water that I was drinking. And now, after all of that time and all of that, work has been put in, now it just comes as second nature. Not only that is it second nature, but along with that mindful practice, I was paying attention to things that worked versus things that didn't. Things that didn't work were smaller glasses of water throughout the day, right? So maybe like 16-ounce cups of water that I might just fill up. Technically, you need about 5 16-ounce cups of water throughout the day, 5 to 6, and I would lose count. I would have, by after two or three, I'd have no idea what number I was on, if I was getting enough, and then it would all kind of fall apart. I've tried the 40-ounce huge tumblers. I found that I just don't carry those around with me. Like they're too big, they're too bulky. It doesn't make sense for me. And so I wouldn't drink water when I had those. What I did notice was when I had this like 32, 30-ish ounce tumbler, that was the perfect size. I knew that I could drink one of those realistically in the morning, almost finish it before I was ready to start my coffee for the day. Especially if was doing a workout first thing in the morning, I could get that an entire 32-ounce done. That's a third of your water, over a third of your water already done before you've had your morning coffee. And so that just made getting the rest of it in throughout the day a little bit easier. And not only that, but I knew all I had to do was fill that thing 3 times. So if I could get one done in the morning, fill it up and have my second one drank by the time work was done around, for me, that was like 3 or 4 p.m. And then even if I didn't finish that final 32 ounce, if I got at least halfway through it or more, I knew I was still like doing really great for that day, right? But I also knew if I could finish another 32 ounce by the time dinner was over, that was a successful day. And that was all very doable for me. So I would encourage you to think, okay, well, what size tumbler works best for you? What have you tried? What works? What doesn't work? What do you like? What don't you like? What times of the day are convenient? Again, thinking back to when I was a teacher, I had to be very strategic around when I was able to use the restroom versus when I was going to be stuck in a block of classes, right? So I would try to drink as much water before I went into school for the day so that I could go to the bathroom one more time before my morning block of classes started. And then I would drink a bunch at lunch, and then I would drink again another huge bulk of my water as the day was ending. And I knew that I would have time to get to the restroom. So again, we really got to be mindful and intentional about it. The reason that this is so important, though, is when you really think about it, our bodies are made up of about 80% water, right? So if that is what we are entirely made up of, we cannot survive without it. Like, think about how drastic that is. We cannot survive without water. Why is it that some of us are going through our day like drinking minimal amounts of water? I think there are some people I've talked to who are like, yeah, I'm lucky if I drink like one water bottle's worth of water, right? That's crazy. Our body is screaming for water. And not only is it just good for you, but you're going to recognize that once you do start drinking more water, that directly impacts your energy. It directly impacts your skin. It directly impacts so many things. Your digestive system, not to be TMI here, but like think about trying to operate a toilet without any water in it, right? It's not going to feel good, right? It's not going to go well. So think about your digestive system trying to operate without any water in it. You're going to feel better when you have water for so many different reasons. The other thing that water can also impact is that one of the things that I talk about a lot with my clients, as far as food and nutrition goes, is listening to your body. And we're going to get into that in another episode. But when I say listening to your body and like figuring out what your hunger cues are, things like that, part of that is figuring out, is it a hunger cue or is it your body telling you you're actually just thirsty? Okay. I think so many times we end up snacking, eating more than what our body really needs because we are confusing a hunger cue with a thirst cue. So when you're being really intentional about your water, you're drinking the water that your body's supposed to be getting in a day, which again, I can't remember if I said it, is about 80 or so ounces a day, depending on your physical activity. If you're sweating, if it's a hot day outside, things like that, it can kind of fluctuate. But if that's how much water we need to be getting, and then we're not giving our bodies that much water, that's why we can sometimes get so confused with, okay, I thought that I was hungry, but oh my gosh, I was really actually just thirsty. And so you're going to find that you very likely, if you're not already drinking this much water, very likely you're going to find yourself eating less because now you're replacing that with the water that your body needed. Okay, habit number 2 is going to be steps. Get your steps in. Okay. This is again probably a habit that you have heard before. People talking about their steps. That's why we have those watches that count them for us. And people make step goals. I've heard of people doing step bets through like competitive apps, things like that. Whatever gets you motivated to go do it, get it done. It is so important. And just a little like recent story that I can share with you is, so of course, right now I am 5 months postpartum and trying to just feel better in my own skin, going for that baby weight loss, but again, in a very realistic and very, slow way. And one of the things that I just notice so heavily is I can change nothing else about my workouts, about my food. If the only thing that changes week to week sometimes is my intentional that's not a word, with my steps, that is going to affect the way that I feel. I feel more bloated. I notice that the scale doesn't move as much if I'm not getting my steps in versus when I am. When I am getting my steps in, and for me, that is around 10,000 steps per day. Honestly, between 7 and 10,000 steps per day. Okay. It can kind of fluctuate for me depending on the day and depending like if I had a workout that day or, whatever the day looked like, it can fluctuate that much sometimes. But my goal is if it's an especially busy day at work where I am in front of my computer a lot, I try to shoot for a minimum of 7,000 steps. If I know that I can be more intentional and up and moving more, I'm hoping for getting around that 10,000 step mark. But again, I will say when I am really focused on squeezing those steps into the little gaps in my day and making sure that I'm up moving whenever I can every single day for the week, when I step on the scale at the end of the week, that it shows for me, right? I hate using the scale as a reference point because it does work for me. That's how I can recognize what kind of progress I'm making versus not. But I want to be really clear here. The scale is not the end all be all. I have worked with so many clients that the scale barely moves, but they are dropping pant sizes, right? And so their progress they can measure based off of how their clothes fit for them, not so much what the scale says. The scale might budge like 1 to 2 pounds over the course of dropping several pant sizes. So I want you to be really careful when using the scale as a tool. And the other thing with the scale too is that it can be such a trigger where you are so excited because you're following these habits that we're talking about. You're drinking your water, you're following your steps, you're doing all these habits, and you're so proud of yourself and you step on the scale and it's not reflecting what you thought it was going to reflect. And that right there can be such a trigger point for people to stop. Stop doing all those habits. Why am I even trying? It's not even working. And that is so not the truth because it is most certainly working, not just for weight loss, but it is working because this is what your body is craving, what your body needs to stay healthy and live that healthy lifestyle, right? So it is absolutely working. But I don't want you to use the scale if you are that kind of person where if it's not moving in the way that you want it to move or see it moving, that you'll give up, right? If that's you, I've told clients before, I want you to go hide your scale. Actually, I want you to go have your spouse hide your scale so you have no idea where it is. So you're not even tempted to step on it and just follow the process. Figure out what works best for you with these habits and fall in love with creating that lifestyle that you love, right? That makes you feel good. Concentrate on the feeling first, okay? So I wanted to clarify that. So then the last piece that I wanted to talk about in terms of steps is one, how to get them in, and actually two, about how many would be appropriate for you. So let's talk about that first. How many steps is appropriate for you? If you currently are at, say, like a desk job and you are probably only getting maybe 2,000 steps per day, right? I don't want you to try and jump all the way up to 7,000 steps in a day. That's going to put unnecessary stress on your body and honestly your mind as well. So if that is where you're at right now, I want you to just slowly build in places where you can add a few more steps in that day. Try to increase your daily average by about 1,000 for a week or two. And then once that's going really well, challenge yourself again. Try to increase by about another 1,000 for another week or two, right? Slowly get yourself up to that 7,000 step range. And then if there are days where you're hitting above that, awesome, right? But again, I want you to take it slow. Let's say you are at like 5, 6, even 7,000 steps per day right now, and you are trying to hit a weight loss goal or a, just feeling better goal or whatever that may be. Same kind of thing. Just try to increase by about 1,000 steps per day. You will be shocked at how big of a difference just that increase on average does for you per day. Okay. So, different ways that we can sneak them in because, again, we are very busy. It's not that we can necessarily put aside 30 minutes every single day to go for a nice walk outside, especially if, the time of this recording, it is snowing. There's snow on the ground outside, right? And so the paths that I normally walk on aren't clear and it's too slippery and I can't push my baby stroller. And so it's too tough. So I got to get creative. I got to figure out how I can reach my step goals. Number one thing I highly recommend is getting a walking pad if the weather is something that impacts you. Okay. It is so, so simple to just hop on there several times throughout the day. Again, I don't try to set aside 30 minutes. That works for some people. Put it in front of your TV, set it up for 30 minutes and watch your favorite shows, or grab a book and read while you walk, right? Set aside those 30 minutes after the kids are in bed, or waking up early to get those steps in, or on your lunch hour, taking a break, or whatever it may be. If that works for you, awesome. If it's hard for you to get that 30 minutes in, just go for 5, 10 minutes at a time. There are times where I literally only have 10 minutes between meetings and I'll grab a snack and eat my snack while I'm on the walking pad. Okay. There are times where it's close to bedtime and my kids are doing a wind down, and we do TV time before bed. And so since they're just sitting there watching TV, sometimes I'll take the opportunity and I'll snuggle with them, I'll lay with them, but I'm going to go lay with them and snuggle them while I'm putting them to bed anyway. So while they're watching 10 minutes of TV, I will hop downstairs and walk on my walking pad. If it's summertime, I will actually go outside and go for a nice 10-minute walk if my husband's home while they're having their TV time. And it is one of my favorite times of the day to just kind of decompress before we start doing the craziness of bedtime, because sometimes that could be a whole thing, right? If you know, you know. Something else that you can do also is just parking further away. Acknowledge that your steps are also coming from when you clean the house, when you're grocery shopping, when you're walking into work, when you're walking around your building, getting up and going to the bathroom, whatever that might be. So just challenge yourself a little bit. Park a little bit farther away when you're at the grocery store. Wander up and down the aisles a little bit more if you're not on a time crunch. Get up and walk the hallway once, do a lap every, 45 minutes if you're in an office, or, pace up and down your driveway when you're on the phone. There are so many ways that we can just get them in these sneaky, clever ways so that it doesn't feel like, again, you're setting aside time to get steps in. You're just up and moving and on your feet a little bit more. All right. So my third non-negotiable is quiet time. Something that can be really difficult to find as a busy mom, but it is so, so important. This can be done in a variety of ways. And when I say quiet time, again, I don't need you to carve out an hour of meditation, right? If you can, great. I know that that's not realistic for me. I know that even just 5 minutes of quiet makes a huge difference in my day. And if I can sneak in different variations of that 5 minutes of quiet into different parts of my day, even better. But in the season of life that I'm in right now with a newborn who has a very inconsistent sleep schedule, sometimes I'm up at 5 a.m., sometimes I'm up at 4, at 6, at 7, at whatever. Sometimes I get to wake up early and get my whole workout in and have my routine done in the morning, and that's great. But there are some times that he was up too much last night and I need to give myself sleep, right? I know that I need to prioritize sleep on that day over a workout, which that needs to happen too. Again, conversation for another time. But on those mornings, I will still make sure that I am up at least 10 minutes before my kids. I will set an alarm. And even if I'm just packing lunches in silence, that is my quiet time for the day. I am thinking of all the things that I am grateful for, trying to kick off my day in as many positive ways. And when you do, as kind of a side note, start your day thinking of gratitude and finding at least three things that you are grateful for. You're training your brain to find the positive, to look for the things that you're grateful for in the day. And when you start your day off like that, it's going to help your brain continue to look for the positive things as your day goes on. So that is what I like to do. I like to just think on it. Ideally, if I could journal on it, I would. Before I had my third, I had that time that I could set aside to journal. I haven't had that time since I've had him, which is okay. So that's why I intentionally make sure that I think of the things that I'm grateful for, even if it's while I'm packing lunches in the morning. If I'm able to sit down and kind of do a meditative practice for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning with breath work, even better. But again, every day looks different. And I think that that's what's so important about these habits and so important about consistency. Every single one of those, it might look different for you every day. It'll probably look different for you every single day. How you get your quiet time in, how you get your steps in, how you get your water in. that might change from day to day. And that's what's so important about the mindset of, you know what, this is just what we do. I'm just going to get it done however I need to get it done. If it means chugging an extra 20 ounces at dinner, cool. If it means setting aside an extra 10, 20 minutes on a walking pad when I am exhausted and I had a really long day and I don't want to do it, but you know what? I'm going to get on that walking pad for 10 minutes anyways because I know that this is good for me. That's also consistency, right? Setting aside 5 minutes of just shutting off all noise in your car while you're going to pick your kids up and getting your quiet time in the car while you're driving, great. It can look different every single day, but those for me are non-negotiables that let me feel like my best self. So, just really quick, if you are already doing those things, I'd love for you to drop a comment. If you're watching here on YouTube with me, let me know how it's going. Let me know how you stay flexible. If you have other fun ideas for getting water in, steps in, quiet time in that work for you as a busy mom, I know that other moms out there that are reading these things definitely appreciate all the different ideas for sure. So, if you are looking to level up and add on to those habits, let's say you're already doing them, then I want you to start focusing on how much protein you're eating in a day. So, this can be another conversation for another day, fully, like a longer conversation, but as a very quick, like background, we should really be getting about 1 gram of protein per pound of what I call quote ideal body weight. Okay. So what that means is let's say you right now weigh 175 pounds, but you know that you are at a healthy weight at say 150. Okay. Technically, we should be getting about 150 grams of protein in that case. However, that is a lot of protein. Okay. Even 100 grams can be a lot of protein for somebody. So I would really encourage you to track, even for just a couple of days, using an app or writing it down or whatever it may be. I think it's a little bit easier to use an app, especially with the amount of resources that are out there, and just genuinely find out how much protein you're eating right now. Even if you try to do it yourself, we miss little bits of protein, right? For example, like there's little bits of protein in broccoli or in bread or, things like that that we don't necessarily think of as being a protein source because its main source of nutrition isn't protein, but there's still protein in it, right? And so all of those little bits do add up. So maybe you'll surprise yourself and you're actually eating more protein than you thought. But I would realistically track for like a day or two and get the feel for about how much protein you're getting in per day and then go from there. If you are pretty low and just getting around 50 to 60 grams of protein per day, I would slowly, again, kind of like we talked about with the steps, slowly build protein into your day and work your way up to about 100 grams for now. 100 grams is kind of a nice sweet spot where you know that you're getting a healthy amount of protein in per day without making it crazy challenging for yourself. Okay. I wouldn't rely on simply protein shakes, protein bars, things like that to be your main sources of protein. They are great things to add in to help you reach your goals, but definitely I do not recommend having a protein shake first thing in the morning and then adding more protein powder to yogurt and then adding more protein powder to something else. Like just one scoop is generally like a good kind of rule of thumb, at least for me, per day. And then trying to get your protein through as many whole foods as possible. And then the next level up that I would talk about is just start lifting weights. Okay. Again, for a multitude of reasons that we will talk about through the course of this show, but lifting weights is the best, like, hack for your body for aging, for weight loss, for feeling strong. Lifting weights is one of the best things that you could do for yourself. So I don't want you to feel intimidated by that. Again, always start small. If you are looking for something that meets you where you're at, I am working on creating a program where you can apply and let me know exactly where you're at so that you can get into the program that is going to fit your needs. So, if that's something that you're interested in, you can check that out on my website and apply for that as well. But definitely just start lifting small weights, even if that means for now you just go and find some YouTube videos with somebody that resonates with you. I do have a 3-day reset resource where I've got 3 workouts that you can check out for me. So you can go check that out and get an even more detailed list of everything else that we talked about today and more. But that can also be a great place for you to check out some workouts that are great for beginners as well. All right. So, with that, that is all of the habits that I have for you today. I cannot wait to share even more in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to Realistically Consistent. If today's episode helped you, please hit subscribe and leave a quick rating as it helps more moms find the show. You can visit AllisonHaleyFitness.com for more tools, tips, and ways to stay connected. And just as a quick reminder, I'm here to share general information and encouragement, but this podcast isn't meant to replace professional medical or health advice. Everyone's circumstances are different, so be sure to check in with your trusted healthcare provider before making any big changes. Thanks again for being here, and until next time, keep showing up for yourself one realistic step at a time.